Hi, welcome to Sabra Says. I'm Dr. Madsen. I'm a licensed psychologist with over 30 years of experience bringing psychology insights to you. And today I thought it might be helpful to talk a little bit about depression, specifically how motivation can be impacted by depression and how to cope with that. So, to begin with, just talking a little bit about depression and symptoms. Typically, when people have a major depressive episode, we're not talking about just a mild level of depression, but a major depressive episode where it starts to really impact your functioning. You'll see symptoms including what we call anhedonia, which is a loss of pleasure in activities. So things that you might have really enjoyed before, if you loved playing basketball or going to concerts, you may find yourself kind of engaging in these activities and not really enjoying yourself, feeling as if you're just kind of going through the motions in a way. People can also experience changes in their sleep and appetite. Most commonly, we see people start to sleep more, where they're just feeling emotionally exhausted and they want to sleep all the time. And then also, just as equally often, they don't so much have problems falling asleep, but then they'll wake up early. So if you don't have to get up until say 7 o'clock in the morning, you may find yourself waking up at like 5 in the morning, feeling totally awake, which is unusual for you. Sometimes people have some insomnia as well. Appetite can go either way also, but most commonly we see people lose their appetite. So it's this like vegetative kind of presentation, and that's what we call it, where there's a lot of sleeping, loss of appetite, loss of interest in things, low motivation, just feeling like they can't get going, no interest in things that they used to be interested in. Concentration can also be negatively impacted, so maybe just having a hard time focusing. Sometimes people actually think they have dementia because depression can impact concentration and memory so significantly. Seeing if I missed anything. Sometimes there's emotional numbing, like feeling, well, numb is the best way to put it. Just almost as if things aren't real in a way, and they're just kind of going through the motions in life in a very numb state. We see that more with people with a history of trauma as well. And then also just sadness, right? Like that's what we think of depression as, people feeling really sad. But interestingly, especially for people when it's their first time having a depressive episode, sometimes they don't feel that affect sadness. Like they're not crying, it doesn't feel that way to them, but they have other symptoms like, physically, like with the appetite and with sleep. So, it can present differently in different people, but what I'm talking about specifically today is that vegetative presentation where there's a loss of motivation. And when this happens, I personally view this issue as an energy issue. And I loved physics, and, anybody out there, who loves physics and understands it knows that an object in motion stays in motion, an object at rest stays at rest. And I use this philosophy in my practice as well for people that are struggling with depression and motivation. So basically, you have a depressive episode and that object is at rest. It's not going anywhere. And once it's at rest, it stays at rest. It's really tough to get out of that. And people's inclination is to want to like fight it. I'm gonna muscle through it. I gotta, and they get this, like, it becomes like a power struggle internally, which actually creates stress, and then you have more stress, which makes you more depressed. So what I recommend for people is, instead of fighting it so much, acknowledge it. Just acknowledge it. It's here. I feel awful. I have no motivation. I'm depressed. Kind of make friends with it in a way. Just sit with it for a little bit without judgment, and just kind of, be there with it. Rest. Okay, so I personally believe that when people are going through a depressive episode, a lot of times they're just exhausted also, and they need some rest. So if you can, I don't think that there's anything wrong with taking a day or two and just letting yourself rest and maybe get some perspective, like take the day off from work, take a mental health day if you can do that with your job, and just make some time for yourself to kind of figure out maybe what triggered all of this and what's going on with you. But then the next step is recoup. Okay, so you don't want to overindulge a depressive episode. And what I mean by that is like you acknowledge it, you take the time to rest, but if that person stays at rest too long, then it can develop into, a deeper depression and get into some more serious things there. So I do think that, you acknowledge it, you rest a little bit, and then you kind of say, okay, now I have to start getting in motion to get that object in motion, which is going to stay in motion then, so you get that ball kind of rolling again, slowly with realistic, expectations and goals there. So in psychology, we call that behavior activation. I can get it out. So with behavior activation, what you do is you think about like, what are the things that I really enjoy? And if you can't think of anything at the time, even think back to childhood. What are the basic things I like? Well, I like reading. I like, I don't know, going outside for a walk or, whatever it is that you enjoy doing. Make a list maybe of the top 3 things that you really enjoy doing. And then also maybe 3 things that are responsibilities that need taken care of in just daily life. Like I really have to pay my taxes. It's tax time, or, if you have a child, obviously you got to go pick them up or, whatever your responsibilities are. Also, and this is really important with depression, people often neglect their activities of daily living, their basic hygiene. I'm talking about like brushing your teeth, take a bath, or shower, eat. We have to take care of ourselves. The very act of taking care of ourselves sends the message to ourselves that we are worthy of that care. And that is important. We feel better when we take care of ourselves. So, if you've been in bed for 2 or 3 days or even more, sometimes it happens. Start with, okay, today I'm going to get up and I'm going to get a shower, right? I'm going to eat. I'm going to eat a real meal with some protein in it and start, even if it's just like a protein shake or something like that. So you make a goal of like maybe one thing enjoyable, one responsibility, and then you're, just taking care of yourself activities. And you start doing those things slowly. And what you'll find is an object in motion will stay in motion. The more you do it, the better you feel. And then you'll be more motivated to do more and more and more. And over time, hopefully, you start pulling out. Sometimes that's not enough. And I get that, sometimes by all means, like you should, if you have a therapist or you have a psychiatrist or a family doctor, if you're considering meds or you're on meds, you will need to talk to them about what's going on to manage your situation, because every person's mental health issues are very individualized. But in general, I find this a good technique to try and kind of like pull yourself out and get moving again. You can't wait to be motivated. Once you're at rest, you're not going to be motivated. You're not going to wake up one day, most likely. You won't wake up one day and say, oh, today I'm like ready. I'm going to do it. I'm going to take on the world. The reality is like Nike has that slogan, just do it, for a reason, because there are times in life where you literally just do it. You don't entertain a conversation with yourself about it anymore. And you just say, okay, today I said I'm getting a shower and that's what I'm doing. And it's literally like one foot in front of the other until you get that done. And you'll feel better for it. And once you get going, it'll keep going like that for you. Sometimes I tell people like, they're like, I'm doing it, but I'm, still depressed and I still don't feel like doing it. That's okay. Like it's all right. Fake it till you make it. Like just do it. And then over time you will start to feel a little bit better and start to feel more motivated and start to enjoy things a little bit more as you pull out of that depressive episode. And if you find your depression getting worse, then, obviously like you may need more help than that, through your therapist or doctor. as always, if you don't have a therapist, I recommend people look on Psychology Today, which is a great website. You can just Google Psychology Today and find a therapist that can work with you either in person or through teletherapy. You can also always talk to your primary care physician if you need help in the beginning. So I hope that this is helpful information about vegetative depression, how to cope with it. Remember, acknowledge how you're feeling, get your rest, and then recoup and get yourself moving again, because an object in motion stays in motion. Take care and be kind to yourself.